So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. As I was growing up, a lot of people don't believe this, but I did struggle with stuttering. And the earliest time that I can remember was probably about the first or second grade, because I remember having to go to speech therapy. And I hated it because, they would make me read things and I couldn't get it out. It just made me more frustrated. I also remembered being in class and knowing the answer and being afraid to raise my hand, or raising my hand and not being able to say what I wanted to say. So I can remember that from a very young age, just struggling with my speech. And then I would go through periods of time where I didn't struggle at all. And then it would come back again. So this happened all the way through. There was times where in church, I used to go to church a lot, where they would ask me to read. And that's the one thing that I hated doing, which is reading aloud. I mean, reading aloud was the one thing that I just couldn't stand doing. And so my mom used to want me to read aloud in church. So sometimes I would, sometimes I would have to prepare for it. And I can remember just going through high school and college and just struggling with my speech. A lot of people didn't even know because I was covert in most cases. When I was younger, there was times where I wasn't covert. I mean, you would see it, you could see it. You'd see my mouth quivering. Sometimes I would bite my tongue and I'd try to force it out. And then as I started getting older, I was like, okay, this is embarrassing. I need to figure out a way where I can get stuck, right? Where I can stutter, but people won't know it. So I just would pause, just not say anything. So most people didn't know. They just may have known that I struggled a little with my speech, and maybe they saw my lip quiver or my eyes blink or something. So as I got older, I was able to work around it. But as many of you know, it's very much like walking around with this heavy weight that you're carrying and constantly being afraid of, am I going to be able to say this? I used to hate answering the phone. Am I going to be able to introduce myself? Am I going to be able to read? What if they call me in class? Just constantly walking around in fear of when you might not be able to say something. So fast forwarding, graduated from college, and my first job was working at an insurance company. It was probably one of the best jobs I could get as a political science graduate, right? So wasn't able to really find too many jobs doing that out of undergrad. So I had this job at an insurance company. Pay was pretty good for back then. This was back in the early 90s. And great benefits. But here's the thing. The primary function, in fact, the sole function of the job was to take phone calls. Because to take phone calls. And that was the one thing that I hated doing. Next to reading, I hated taking phone calls. And so I was like, I got to figure out a way to deal with this thing, because this is like the best job I'm going to get. And I really need to figure out how to take phone calls. So the thing is, we had to go through training. And in the training, we had to do something else that I hated doing, read a script. So here we go. We got two things I hate doing, reading aloud and answering the phone, both together. Right? I'm reading aloud and answering the phone and reading a script. And on top of that, being evaluated, right? So these people are watching me and recording me do this thing. So finally, I talked to the trainers and I said, sometimes I struggle with my speech a little. I stutter a little bit on certain words. It was a lot more than that, right? But I said, so in answering the phone, we were supposed to say, hello, welcome to XYZ Insurance Company. This is Michael Williams. So I said, can I say yes, hello? Because I said, okay, I can say yes, hello, but I can't say hello. So they said, sure, there's nothing wrong with that. You can say yes, hello. So now let me say yes, hello. And so what ended up happening is I stumbled upon something. And I'm going to ask you a question about that in just a moment. I stumbled upon a secret, if you will, to being able to do things that you couldn't do before, to speaking smoothly. And so I started saying, yes, hello, welcome to XYZ Insurance Company, this is Michael Williams. And I started saying it so much that even at home, I would pick up the phone, I would say, yes, hello, welcome to, and I actually did that a couple of times. So what I did is I stumbled upon a couple of things. And one of those things is that I began to answer the phone using a rhythm. It's a rhythm. Yes, hello, welcome to blah, blah, blah. This is Michael Wood. And I did something else. So let me just ask you, in changing the way that I answered the phone, what were some of the things that I stumbled upon, right? I stumbled upon at least a couple of different keys or secrets, some of which I'm going to be sharing with you today. But there are a couple of things that I stumbled upon by changing the way that I answered the phone. So before, I couldn't say hello. But by adding something, I was able to do it. So just in your own words, there's no right or wrong answer. Go ahead and type into the chat box, and I'll look at it a little later. But type into the chat box what you thought, which secrets you thought I stumbled upon. Okay, type that in. The other thing that happened is in stumbling upon this, I was able to answer the phone and go ahead and work there. But still, I would come home with headaches, just struggling all day long. Sometimes I would have to hang up on people. You've probably done that, right? Hang up because I pretend like I got disconnected because I couldn't say their name and all of this stuff. I struggled. And it wasn't until probably the late 90s that I figured out, again, I stumbled upon a way to really smooth out my speech. And many, many years later, I began to do this full time. I created the Pro 90D speech system. So I've been working at this for a while. I've been married for 27, 28 years now. I've been with my wife for over 30 some years. So she's seen me go through various stages and she's monitoring this right now. So I just wanted to share a little bit about my story, and some of you can identify with some of that. So many of you may not believe that I did used to struggle with my speech. Some of you might see little things that I do or whatever, and you say, aha, I caught them, right? But that's okay, because everyone struggles with their speech, right? So I just wanted to share that with you. So while you're typing in the answer to the question of what did I stumble upon, I just want you to be thinking about that. I also want you to think about this. What are the one or two things that you're going to leave this webinar with? The one or two breakthrough ideas that you're going to leave this webinar with, because all you need are one new idea to change the whole direction of your life. So what are the one or two breakthrough ideas that you're going to leave this webinar with? In this webinar, we're going to be talking about how you can introduce yourself, how you can say your name with ease, right? How can you introduce yourself and say your name with ease? Say your name smoothly, not have a fear of introducing yourself, not have a fear of saying your name at the coffee shop, of being in a meeting where they go around the room and everyone's introducing themselves, or being on a phone conference or a video conference or an interview or a social situation where you have to say your name. Going to a restaurant where they ask you your name. So we're going to talk specifically about this challenge, right? This struggle of I can't say my name, or I have a hard time saying my name. Why does this happen, and what can you do about it? Why does it happen, and what can you do about it? Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So basically we're going to talk about then two things that's going to be a response to that. Two things that's going to be a response. One is I'm going to share with you the neuroscientific secret to being able to retrain your brain so that you can introduce yourself and say whatever you want to say. Right? I'm going to share with you the one neuroscientific secret to being able to introduce yourself, to being able to retrain your brain so that you can say what you want to say, right? So that's one thing that we're going to do. The second thing that I'm going to do is to introduce you to a method called track that you can use to retrain your brain, right? That you can use to retrain your brain, to get rid of those anticipatory thoughts where you know, okay, I'm not going to be able to say my name, to be able to have a way of saying what you want to say when you want to say it. I'm going to introduce you to the track. So let's get started with this first part here, this first part, and that is the One Neuroscientific Secret. This is the secret, and this is also a breakthrough moment for you, a breakthrough moment. And here it is. I'm going to write this one down. So we're talking about how you can say your name. You should be able to see this is really a thick marker. All right, new, successful, speaking, memories. Okay, might be a little blurry, but that's okay. I'm going to tell you what it is anyway. New, successful, speaking, memories. New, successful, speaking, memories. This is the breakthrough idea, and let me explain why. You have a memory, in fact, you have a set of memories that have come about as a result of your experiences. And let me share with you an example of what this memory looks like and how it works. So let's just say that you have a cell phone and you take a video, right? You take a video of something and then you save the video. So let me ask you, where's that video go? Take a video, a selfie, right? Where does it go? Well, if you save it to your phone, it's going to go to the hard drive, right, to the storage on your phone, correct? All right, so now you took that, so let's say you take some more videos. Where does that go? It goes to storage. Now, what can you do with that video? Well, you can replay it. So if you want to go back, you want to kind of recapture, you want to remember what was on that video, and you go back to your storage, you press play, and you replay it. Our memories are similar in a way, right? What happens is, from the time you were very young, you begin to develop memories. Where did these memories come from? It came from your experiences. These memories came through your senses, things that you saw, things that you heard, things that even you said, things that you touched, that you tasted, that you smelled, even things that you felt, that you experienced on the inside, even things that you sensed, right? So all of these became a part of your memory, right? They started developing memories, like recording videos became a part of your memory. Now, here's what happens. If you were raised in an environment where it was high stress, perhaps one of your parents, both of your parents, your siblings, teachers, people at school, created for you a high stress environment where there's a lot of anxiety and stress, then you may have grown up feeling stressed. And as children are developing, they often go through periods where there is a chemical, where there's a presence of a chemical that actually causes, if you will, stuttering to present itself. And it's a very natural occurrence. That's why many children stutter during their developmental phases, right? But they often grow out of it, okay? So it's because of this chemical, right, that's present, that this all of a sudden it disrupts something and the child starts to stutter, and they often grow out of it, or they can get out of it through speech therapy. But what can also happen is the child starts to stutter and they're in a high stress environment. The speech and the stuttering and the high stress become interrelated, they become connected. If you've ever had an experience where you did a presentation at school, or you tried to speak up and something didn't come out and you were embarrassed, right? So you had an emotionally charged experience in your life, then that becomes a memory. Does this make sense? Do you see where I'm going? Became a memory. So every time you struggled with your speech, or you experienced some embarrassment because you couldn't say something for whatever reason, or you were under stress, and then you started to stutter and get stuck, became a memory. It was like recording a video. It's like taking this and recording that event and leaving it on your hard drive, okay? So now, watch this. As you start growing older, this struggle of, I can't say this, and when I get stressed, I'm not able to say this, I'm unable to say my name, it starts becoming a part of your identity, right? Which is also embedded and represented by your memories. So it becomes a part of your identity. That's who you are. So as a child doesn't think, okay, I'm a stutterer. A child doesn't probably even know that word. Just knows that I'm struggling with my speech. I want to communicate something and I can't. As an adult, you start learning, hey, I had a problem with my speech. It's embarrassing. I'm not able to do this. I want to go out and be social, but I can't. So it starts becoming a part of your identity. And then the person starts to change and remold their personality based on what they can and cannot do. People begin to choose careers based on what they can and cannot say. They choose or avoid opportunities based on what they can and cannot say. Right? Has that ever happened to you? Oh, I'm not going to go to that meeting because I'm going to have to introduce myself. I talk to people and say, well, you know what? I'm going to go in late because I know they're already have done the introductions. Or, oh, I'm sick today, I'm not going to be able to come in. Why? Because there was some kind of meeting where you're going to have to introduce yourself. People do all, or people get up and leave, right? Right around the time where they had to say something or introduce themselves. So these kinds of things happen. Why? Because of these memories, right? These memories. So that's why whenever you have a situation where you need to introduce yourself, all of a sudden, there's this sense, there's a feeling that, I know I'm not going to be able to do it. I know I'm going to get stuck. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's unconscious, where you just know you're not going to be able to do it, or you think, I'm not going to be able to do it. So what we have to do, here's the secret, the neuroscientific secret. Why is it neuroscientific? Because it has to do with creating these memories, these new successful speaking memories. The secret to you being able to introduce yourself smoothly is to create new successful experiences, new successful speaking experiences of you introducing yourself smoothly. So here you have these old memories. You have these old memories of you getting stuck, introducing yourself. What do we have to do? Well, hopefully you can see this red here. We have to create new. We have to create new what? What do we have to create? New memories. Your old memories cause a routine to run, right? It triggers it triggers your body, right? Your speaking mechanism to close up, to tense up. It closes off your air. All of a sudden you can't say your name, right? It triggers these thoughts that I can't do it, right? This is automatic. You don't have to think about it now. So what do you have to do? You have to create new memories, new memories. So what does this mean? Here's what's important about this. New memories equals different. Equals different what? It equals a different way of saying your name. A different way. And the studies support this. The studies support this. If you want to be able to introduce yourself, you can't continue to try to introduce yourself. That is, you can't continue to try to physically say your name in the same way. New equals different. And let's see, let's use this color. I'm going to use blue. And old equals same. Okay? New equals different, old equals same. So if you try to use your current or old way of speaking, your old style, I call it, then you're going to get the same results, which is you're going to get stuck. Why? The same is represented by your current memories of how you introduce yourself, how you say your name. Those are your memories. Absolutely, right? So if you want to be able to introduce yourself smoothly, you have to create a different way of saying your name, right? So that you create new memories, new successful speaking memories. Does this make sense? So then someone says, well, okay, I think I get what you're saying. We need to create new memories that replace the old ones. You'll hear me saying this often, replacing. We're not really changing, we're replacing. You got to create new memories of you saying your name, and you got to create a lot of them so that they replace. It's like you get these videos, you got these old videos on your phone, right, that you don't like. So what you want to do is you want to replace them, right? You want to replace them. You want to get rid of them and add some new ones. So then we got to create new memories by saying our name in a different way. Now, how do we do that? How do we say our name in a different way? So, well, my name is my name, right? So I have to say it like Michael Williams. I got to say Michael Williams. Well, no, you don't. There's a lot of different ways that I can say Michael Williams. And this is where you got to change, right? You got to have a new way of thinking, the psychology of speech and stuttering, as well as a new way of actually saying your name, the physiology of speech and stuttering. Psychology and physics. So the psychological part is that you have to be open and willing to change the way you think about saying your name, how you say it, when you say it, the way that you say it. And then you have to be willing to try to say your name in a different way. Because if you don't, I guarantee you, you're going to continue to struggle to say your name. So let's talk about some very specific ways, and then I'm going to break for some questions. And after we answer a few questions for just a few minutes, then I'm going to introduce to you the track method, right? So let's talk about some very specific techniques that you can use to introduce yourself differently. Very specific techniques. Very specific techniques. Okay? So what are some of the techniques that we can use to introduce ourselves? One, and I want to share with you just a brief example of one of my clients. A young lady, I'm going to call her Maria. She lives in Mexico. And most of the time we do our sessions in English, but sometimes we do it in Spanish because it helps me to practice my Spanish. And she speaks like 98% of the time in Spanish. Her English is very, very good. And so she, like more than 90% of my clients, she too struggle with introducing herself, right? It's probably more like 95 or 97% of my clients struggle with introducing us. So she struggled with this. And she was about to graduate from college. In fact, she just did graduate, but when we started, it was a couple of months out. And so she went through, the Pro-ND speech system, and here's what she did. Here's what she found. She added just a little sound in front of her name, and that was all. And she was able to introduce herself smoothly. And after doing that, she was able to do this within a week or two. And after doing that, she then told me, just like a week or two ago, that, now I don't even have to use that sound. And I'll tell you why, right? So now she doesn't have to, she can just introduce herself. Why? Why was it, in fact, let me ask you if you can enter in your answers. Why was it that when she added just a little sound, and I'll tell you what the sound is, of course. She added a little sound before her name. All of a sudden, she started introducing herself smoothly. And then all of a sudden, she stopped thinking about it, and then she was able to just say her name. Why do you think that happened? I want you to go ahead and just type your responses in there. Why did that happen? And that's a part of this process, right? So let's talk about specific technique as you answer that question. Why was it that Maria, when she added a little sound before her name, she was able to introduce herself smoothly. Now, remember what I just said about a new and different, right? Why was she able to introduce herself smoothly, and then all of a sudden, now she doesn't have to use the sound, she can introduce herself. There's a whole psychology behind this, and physiology. So let's talk about a couple of specific techniques. One of those techniques is, it's what we call, actually the basic technique is, and you've heard me talk about this before, it's called airflow linking. Airflow linking. It's a very specific technique that mimics natural speech. When we're speaking naturally, like I'm speaking now, I'm not airflow linking, I'm not trying, just speaking naturally, I'm maintaining airflow. I'm not stopping. I'm maintaining airflow while I'm speaking. This is natural speech. So airflow linking is the basic technique. What she did was she used a natural leading sound. She used a natural leading sound, an introductory sound or word or phrase, as you will hear me call it. So like a naturally occurring, if you will, leading sound. What do you think that sound was? What do you think that sound was? Just checking out some of your confidence. Okay, and I'm going to be reading your answers in just a moment because I'm going to ask you another question. What do you think the sound was? It was right? Now, some of you are saying, well, okay, Michael, are you trying to tell us that before we get started speaking, right, Michael, wait. No, I'm not saying that you should develop a habit of saying before you say it. However, is a very naturally occurring sound. I want you to begin to observe and hear how many times you hear people, how many times you hear people say or before. Now, here's what I'm going to share with you as a strategy, as a technique. One of the things that you want to do is, if you're going to use it sparingly, make it quiet, make it very, very quiet. Don't go like that. You might go, Michael Williams, right? And where most people won't even hear it, they won't even know that you said it, Michael Williams. Now, why would I want to do that? And why do people resist doing this? So I should just be able to say my name. Remember, let's go back. Yeah, you should just be able to say your name, but you can't. So what do you need to do? You got to do something different. Well, I should just be able to say my name. And somebody else said that in 3 days they can just teach me this and I can just say my name. Well, you go ahead and try that. And maybe you will for a little while, but the psychological side is going to come back and bite you because of the memory that's been building up over years. It's not going to disappear overnight. If you try to say your name the old way, you're going to get the same results. Even if for a period of time you enter into this period of fluency, for whatever reason, you went through some training, you listened through some audio, and all of a sudden you can say, and then all of a sudden that memory comes back again, right? If you want to be able to say your name long-term, permanently, you gotta do something new. New means different, which means you have to introduce yourself. You have to say your name differently. So by using just a small short before her name, what was she doing? She was interrupting a pattern, right? See, the brain runs on a routine. It's got a routine. It's like a habit loop. I have to say my name, boom, it's going to trigger a routine. A routine pulls up the memory. Oh, well, every time we have to introduce ourselves, we stutter. Boom, happens automatically, right? You have to interrupt that pattern. You got to trick your brain. How do you trick your brain? You do something different. You say something that you introduce yourself in a different way. In a different way. It's got to be different. Can't be the same. So here's something I want you to remember. Don't force it, just link it. Don't force it, just link it. We'll talk about what that means, airflow linking. Don't force it. People try to force their name out. It's not going to come out. It might come out. It might come out. You're going to be pushing it out. You're going to be stuttering. Don't force it, just link it, just airflow link it, right? We get that on a t-shirt. Okay, so so just and in fact, if you think about it, you go like in meditation, like doesn't that feel relaxed? Go ahead and do that with me right now. Just doesn't that just feels really relaxed, right? You get the airflow going, you're and it's just coming out nice and smooth. So one of the things that happens is when you say is just a very relaxing word, and it gets the sound going, right? The air is vibrating over those vocal cords, you get that sound going, whereas before, when your brain's focused on just saying your name, Michael, okay, the M, I'm going to get stuck on the M, then boom, all of a sudden the air closes up, breath gets short, and I can't say anything, can't start saying anything. But if I go, all of a sudden I interrupted the pattern. My brain's like, you can't say M, but you can say So as soon as I say the then the M comes out, okay? So using an introductory sound, like a quiet Now, remember, I asked you the question about Maria. What happened there? So let me just look and see. Changed brain pattern. It took her attention away from the situation because she implanted new memories in her brain. Yes, causing her to say her name with ease. The word took the stress off and made it easier to say her name. Very good. New self-confidence. She was able to create new memories. Believed the sound would make her name smoother. New brain pattern. Very similar to neurosemantics. Yes. Okay, good. And somebody's reminding me it's 25 minutes left. So, very good. Great answers. Great answers. That's right. That's absolutely right. So, all the things that you guys said is absolutely correct. So, one technique is to use a natural leading sound, like an Now, remember, this isn't necessarily going to be permanent. You don't have to always, I don't always say, yes, hello, this is Michael Williams. Now, I can say, hello, this is Michael Williams. Hello, Michael Williams. Sometimes I'll say Michael Williams, right? Once you take your attention off, once you create new memories of saying your name smoothly, even though it's a little different because you added a sound, then your brain says, okay, we can say our name. And then you stop thinking about speaking, you stop thinking about saying your name, and you can say your name smoothly. A second technique, very, very similar based on this airflow linking. Remember, don't force it, just what? Just link it, just airflow link it, don't force it. So here's the second one, and it's very similar. Use a leading word or phrase, right? So basically what we're saying here is, is not really a word, and you might find it in a dictionary, I'm not sure, but you can use a leading word or phrase like, I'm Michael Williams. My name is Michael Williams. Sure, it's Michael Williams, right? Now, I want us to get down to something here. I want us to drill down into this. So some of you are saying, well, I've tried that and it didn't work. I tried saying I'm or yes, my name is, and I still got stuck. Airflow linking is a very, very specific technique. And there's something that I call extreme airflow linking. And this is when you've tried regular airflow linking and it doesn't really work for you. Why? Because you've left a little bit of space, of a pause between whatever you're saying, my name is, there's a little pause, and this pause allows your brain to get you stuck again. It allows that pattern to come back and you still get stuck because of that pause. So what we have to do with airflow linking is we have to make sure that you do something that you've heard me talk about called blend. Blend. You blend your words tightly. Blend your words tightly. Tightly. You have to blend your words tightly to maintain airflow. So what you're doing is, I want you to remember this idea. A CO in the military is a commanding officer. Commanding officer. So I want you to remember this. What you're doing is you are overriding, right? You are overriding, you're consciously overriding your body, your brain, right? You're consciously overriding, CO. So you're taking charge, you're a commanding officer, you're taking charge of your body, you're taking charge of your speech. by overriding, consciously overriding your speech. How do you do it? By using airflow linking or extreme airflow linking. So what is, well, Michael, what is airflow linking? What's extreme airflow linking? It's mimicking normal speech, mimicking normal speech. So here's an example, using words or phrases. So let's say I struggle saying Michael. So what am I going to do? I got to say it differently if I want to create new memories. I can't try to say it the same way. So there's several elements I can change. I can change the pitch or tone of my voice. I can say it higher, Michael Williams, or I can stretch it out, Michael Williams, right? I can stretch it. I'm saying I can articulate Michael Williams. I can use my hands, my body, my face. I'm changing the way I say my name, right? But if you do it this way, then what you're doing is you're going to say, sure, it's Michael Williams. It's Michael Williams. So change your name. Remember this, change your name. Change your name to what? Well, for me, I would change my name to not Michael. I would change it to Smichael, right? So listen to this. It says, well, that's kind of stupid. Well, it might sound like it's. So now my name is not Michael, it's Smichael. Okay? It's not Michael, it's Smichael. That's what I'm telling my brain. My name is not Michael, it's Smichael. Smichael Williams. What's going to happen? Here's what's going to happen. When you go to say your name and you say it's Smichael, right? You're telling yourself, you're thinking Smichael. I can say Smichael, or I can't say Michael, but I can say Smichael. When you go to say it's Smichael, it's going to sound like Michael. It's going to sound like it's Michael, right? But you're telling yourself, you're tricking, you're interrupting the pattern by thinking, you're overriding your body and your brain. You're saying Smichael. And lots of my clients have done this. So you got to, this is like extreme airflow linking. It's when you link these words up, you literally like change your name to Smichael. And after you've done it a few times, you start relaxing and you're able to say, it's Michael. Yeah, my name is Michael. Is Michael, Smichael, right? You're able to do it. It takes the pressure off. You've created new memories of you saying your name smoothly, and all of a sudden, there you go, right? You can also say, I'm Michael. Now, of course, this works with my name, but it could be, what if your name is Brad, right? Well, I'm Brad. Or it's spread. So now all of a sudden it's not Brad, it's spread. It's like it's spread. So if you trick yourself into saying, okay, my name is not Brad now, it's spread, right? Then when it actually comes out, it's going to sound like it's Brad, but you're tricking yourself. Does that make sense? It's extreme airflow linking. Another component of extreme airflow linking is taking some extra air before you say it, right? So it's Smichael, right? You take an extra air because often you might be in the clutch and you might not have any air. So you take an extra air and you say something different than just your name, right? It's Mike, sure, it's Michael. It's Michael Williams, right? I want you to try this. I want you to practice this. You really have to have faith in the tools. I had a client, he was a mechanic, and he said, and he struggled with saying his name. And he said, I'm a mechanic, and when I first got started, I had low confidence in my ability to work on cars. But now, after a couple of decades, extremely confident. I know how to use the tools. I know the tools work. I know I can answer any question. I know I can work on just about any car. He said, that's what I think about your tools, your program, the Pro 90D speech system. I know the tools work. They make sense. I know they work. I have confidence in them. And so I try to use them. And as I try to use them, they start to work. So now he's able to introduce himself. Now, these are the two techniques that you can use to introduce yourself. There are more. Why are these two important? Because they help you create a different way of saying your name, and it's this different way that helps you create new memories. But here is the problem. I think I'm about to run out of paper. I'm going to have to go back a little. Here's the problem. I don't really have that much more to write, but the problem is someone says, well, does this always work? No. And here's why. If a person doesn't try, if they don't try, then they can't create enough new successful memories. If someone says, well, what if I try and I get stuck and I'm embarrassed? What if I'm afraid to even try because I don't want to experience that? So if you don't try, then you won't be able to create the new memories and you won't be able to say your name smoothly. So try stands for trust, stands for repeat or repetition, and the Y stands for yes. You got to trust the tools that I'm giving you. You got to trust the tools because they absolutely 100% will work. They absolutely will work, not just because I'm saying it, but because I have enough clients and students behind me, as well as the science, that says that they're going to work. Number two, you have to repeat it over and over. Anything that you're learning, when you first try to do it, you're probably going to fail. You're going to suck at it, right? So you got to accept that as a part of the thing. You have some backups. You go and you find low pressure situations where you can introduce yourself. And something else that we taught, there's some other strategies you can use to begin to introduce yourself, to create these new speaking experiences, new successful speaking memories. So you repeat it. You got to repeat it over and over, and then you'll get it, like the tools. First time you try to do something, doesn't really work, then all of a sudden you keep doing it. Oh, okay, now I know how to do this, right? Then it works. If ever I get stuck, my number one tool is airflow linking. But you'll also notice that people who don't struggle with their speech, they use airflow linking. Like somebody will be talking and something doesn't want to come out. What do? They just double back and they say it again, right? They don't force it out, because if they did force it out, they would be stuttering. So their brain automatically says, hey, this word doesn't want to come out. Let's throw in a filler word. Let's use a different word. Let's go back and say it again, right? That's what the brain does automatically. So we mimic that by using airflow linking. You're speaking and a word doesn't want to come out. Just relax. You don't push it out. Don't force it. Just what? Link it. Airflow link. Just go back, tighten it up, take a little breath, and airflow link it. So whenever I get stuck, that would be the tool that I would go to, right? Trust. You have to trust. You have to try, because if you don't try, you simply are not going to be able to create the new memories. Now, here's what I like to do. What I want to do now is I want to ask you a question. I'm going to take some questions from you for just a couple of minutes, In fact, I'm going to ask you that if you have some questions, type them in, and I'll start looking at them. And so I want to introduce you to this track method that you can use to do some things, and I'll tell you what those things are. So here's the thing I want you to think about. I want you to just think about this question. In fact, I have a couple of things for you to think about. Okay, 1, how would your life be different? In fact, I want you to complete this. My life would be different, or if I could introduce myself, I could say my name, I would be able to, what? If I could introduce myself with ease, I would be able to do what? So if you want to type that in, you can type it in. If you want to just think about it, think about it. Take just a minute and answer that question for me. I also want you to type in any questions that you might have, and I'll take a couple of minutes to answer some of them now, and then towards the very end, I'll stay on for a little longer and answer some of your questions, right? So I'm going to make sure that we're done by 12 o'clock with the main content, and then those that need to leave, you're going to have all the information that you need. Take a couple minutes to answer questions. So here's what I want you to reflect on. Number 1, if I could introduce myself smoothly and with ease, I would be able to, or I would do whatever. Think about that. Answer it either in your head, or you can type your answers. And if you have any specific questions about something that I've covered, right, Here's one that I don't want you to ask. Michael, how do I stop stuttering? Michael, how do I introduce myself? Because that's what we're covering now, right? So if you have a specific question about something that I've covered, go ahead and ask that, and I'll take a look at it, okay? Let me just see if we got, yeah. There's a question and answer box there. You can just use the chat or you can use the Q&A. Right now, everyone's kind of on chat, so if you like to use that, do that. Let me just see if there's, you improve your social life, better relationships. What else? What else do we have? Get rid of the nervousness, phone people you want to speak to more. Yeah, I had a guy who, he would avoid doing Skype sessions, calling people because of his speech, right? This is an older gentleman. And now he talks to people and they say, wow, it's a really big difference. So yeah, phone people, get rid of the nervousness. Internal head chatter, yes. Be a businessman, not labored, okay. Brokered artisan, all right. Attend the pre-classes of every semester where we have to introduce ourselves to new faculty, yes. Okay, excellent. So keep, in terms of extreme airflow linking, Tyson, hey man, how you doing? So how would I link the introductory word with my name, Tyson? It's Tyson. My name is Tyson. Okay, so with Tyson, what you do is you change your name to Tyson. Tyson, right? It's Tyson, or my name is Tyson. Or you're using Tyson, and you would be surprised. In fact, a client just told me this, lives in the UK, told me this just yesterday. He said, Michael, you wouldn't believe how incredible of a difference just using the word has made in me being able to speak fluently. And remember, I'm not teaching you bad habits. I mean, I am in a sense, right? But they're temporary, they're bridges. Why? Because you can't create new memories using your old way of speaking, right? You got to use new ways, and these are some strategies. So, okay, so Tyson, it would turn to Styson, like S-T, Styson, my name. So you're tricking your brain into thinking your name is Styson, S-T-Y, but what's actually going to happen is going to come out like it's Tyson, right? It's Tyson, it's Tyson. And after you say it and you start getting it out, then you're going to be able to have that gap. Oh, it's Tyson. My name is Tyson, or Tyson. Be able to say Tyson. You got to create the new memories, okay? I hope I answered your question. Ahmad. Ahmad. Name is Ahmad. My name is Ahmad. Ahmad. Okay. And I've done this with almost every name. Many of my clients have been Indian, Asian, and I can't go through all the names now, but I will take some time afterwards to play around with different sounds for your name. So it's just so your name would be Sakmad, right? Sakmad. My name is Sakmad. So it's not Ahmad, it's Sakmad. So, and again, you're tricking yourself. If you say Sakmad, it's Sakmad, it's Sakmad. Then all of a sudden you're going to start to be able to put that little space in there. It's Ahmad, but you tell yourself it's Sakmad, okay? Parastine, it's Sparastine. It's Sparastine, right? Sparastine, not Parastine, it's Sparastine. Again, same thing. Every name you can do the same thing. Especially with the S. With the M, like with I'm, you could go I'm Ahmad. I'm Ahmad. Like if I went I'm Michael. So it would be I'm Eichel, right? So my name is no longer Michael, it's Eichel. Because I can say I'm Eichel, right? So you can do that. Okay, so now, what I want to do now is, and I'll play a name, I'll play around with some of your names a little bit later, like a C, yeah, C's and Z's. So you have to play with it, but you can do it. It will work. Airflow linking absolutely works. Why is it that proper names, all of them, title of books, streets, names, TV shows, are so much harder to say fluently? That's a good question. Let me think about that. Proper names. Yeah, that's a great question. I'll need to think about that. Express myself. I'd be free to be able to express myself. Okay, great. So I'm going to address some of the other names. We'll play with it and answer any other questions, or try to answer any other questions that you might have towards the end. What I want to do now with the time that we have left is to introduce you to track, T-R, I think I'm out of paper now, so I'll use, yeah, I got one more piece. T-R-A-C-K, T-R-A-C-K, track. So some of you might be asking then, you might be wondering, okay, hear what you're saying. What do I do to be able to get rid of those thoughts, right? The thoughts that I have, those anticipatory thoughts that say, I know I'm going to get stuck. I know I'm not going to be able to say it. How do I get rid of those? How do I replace them? Some of you might be asking, well, how do I kind of develop a routine? What do I do daily, day by day, to create these new successful speaking memories? You have to create new successful speaking memories. So how can I create a routine to create them? Somebody else might be asking, well, what if I'm afraid to try these techniques? What if I fail? How can I stay motivated? If I go out and I say, okay, well, Michael Williams said try this, and I try it and I still get stuck. That's going to happen, right? So what if it happens and it just is so much that you just don't want to do it? How can I stay motivated? Well, the way that you can is by using what I call the track method. Someone said if you want something to be successful, if you want it to get done, and you measure it, you track it, right? You track it. So each one of these represents a concept. Each one of these represents a concept. And I want to just briefly walk through these concepts, just briefly, and then share with you how you can go deeper. So you want to track. You want to track. So the first thing that you want to do as you are trying to replace your thinking and so forth is you want to talk to your IT department. Each of you has an IT department. What's IT department? Your IT department is your internal talk, like someone that said head chatter. Certain things you need to tell yourself on a regular basis in order to keep yourself encouraged, in order to keep yourself going. One of my clients says that she talked to herself. You have to talk to. You also have to remind or remember. Right? There's a specific way that you can do this. Remember your previous successes. Remember, so there's a way that you can remind yourself of your successes every day. You remember them. Here, you want to accumulate new memories, right? Accumulate new memories, new successful speaking memories. You accumulate new memories every day. The law of accumulation. As you accumulate them, they compound, they grow, and all of a sudden, now you're not using introductory sounds, you're not thinking about speaking, right? The goal of Pro 90D is not to have you think forever about mechanics. It's to get you to the place where you're not thinking about speaking at all. You're just speaking. I'm speaking to you now, but I'm not thinking about speaking. I'm thinking about it only to the degree that I'm talking about it, right? But I'm not thinking about the mechanics of speaking, like extending and I'm just speaking. I'm communicating, right? Like you walk. So you accumulate new memories. The C stands for you create. You create, don't wait. Create, don't wait. What does that mean? Well, some people sit back and wait for experiences and opportunities. You can't do that. You have to be proactive. That's, some of you may be wondering, where does the pro come from in Pro 90D? It comes from being proactive. You create opportunities so that you can accumulate more new successful speaking memories. You have to go out and create opportunities. This is what I did. This is what I encourage my clients to do. And then finally, you have to just know that it will work. It will work eventually. You have to know, based on the science of it, that this will eventually work. If I keep doing this, because of the way my brain is designed, this will eventually work. So what I want to do is, if you want to go deeper into these, in fact, I explain the science. I show a little diagram of how our neurons are wired together, and how by repeating certain behaviors and actions, what you're doing is they say neurons that fire together, wire together. You're wiring together these neurons and creating new actions, new abilities, new thoughts. Okay, so I go into the science of that in this method called TRACK. And actually, the method is called rewire or retrain your brain to speak well. So based on my clients, in fact, I'm going to wrap up in just a minute, based on input and feedback from my clients and from my own experience and research, I've put together a very special program, a video and audio program called Retrain Your Brain to Speak Well. And in it, we walk through this method. I give you specific details and talk about the science. And so I want to invite you to take a look at that. And as most of you know, my coaching can cost anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000. Is it worth it? Yes. One guy just got a job making $34,000 more than his other job after working with me for just a few weeks. More, not just $34,000 more. I've had other people. So is the coaching worth it? Yes, it is. You know, my self-study is about $350, right? Does that work? Yes. If you apply it, it absolutely does. So most of my stuff is a pretty good investment. But this program I've specifically designed, so this is going to blow your mind,